Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another podcast. On this episode, we have Puru Thakkar, the founder of News, and I have a couple of questions for him with regards to the news industry, the memes industry, and the recent fundraise that News got. So yeah, without any further ado, let's jump right into it. All right, so Puru, this is like a ritual on the podcast, right? So what I do is I ask the person who that person is. So Puru, who is Puru Thakkar?
So first of all, when you said ritual, I got scared. I was like, I hope he doesn't ask me to sing or something. But thank God.
Sure.
So hi, I'm Puru Thakkar. I am probably the most boring person you'll meet. But
Mm-hmm.
once you know me, I'll be the most funny person you meet. Uh, I'm a coder, a marketer, and recently the founder of News. I've almost spent half plus of my life uh, dreaming about startups, and that's what I love to do. And probably my end goal in my life is to be a part of a lot of startups through investments. So yeah.
Interesting. All right. So another ritual. This is very basic, right? So let's say tomorrow encounter like a 5-year-old, and he asks, "Puru, what does news do?" So what would you say? What's your 5-year-old guy pitch?
News tells you what's happening in the world without boring you.
Interesting. A bit more elaborate. Just a bit more elaborate.
Uh, I think I think that's how simply I would tell it. But
Uh-huh.
to define it a bit more, I would say it would tell you what's happening in the world as quickly as 5 minutes and through the form of jokes.
Interesting. All right. So we are done with the cliche questions, right? So let's jump right into the news category. So this is a very
Right.
open-ended question. Do you think the traditional news media is dead, like for the Gen Z at least?
Traditional news media, as in the newspapers or the TV channels.
I mean, both of it, collective.
Uh, I wouldn't say dead because I don't think they're dying anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, See, the biggest benefit that these channels have is that they have created a huge amount of trust, uh, and you cannot lose trust easily. So even if they, uh, do a couple of things wrong, people will keep trusting them,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I don't think they are going to lose their position. Talking about Gen Z, I think they do. I think they do trust the platforms and they do use the platforms. Only the place they interact with
Mm-hmm.
them is changed. So, according to a study that happened recently in the US,
Mm-hmm.
54% of teenagers get the news from social media,
Sure.
and that's where they're interacting with them, right? So they're not going on TV channels or they're not reading the newspapers, but they're interacting with the same old channels, but now on Instagram or Snapchat or wherever they are. So yeah, I think they're gonna stay, but their distribution is gonna change a lot.
Interesting. So, do you think that 54% statistic, the thing that teenagers usually get their news from social media, do you think that's a good thing by any chance? By any means? Is that a good thing?
Uh, the good thing is that they're getting the news. The bad thing
Sure.
I think, is that uh, these platforms are not trustworthy, right? So when you're browsing news on these platforms, then a lot of other pages can pop up which are
Hmm.
not trustworthy news,
Sure,
and
right.
these
Sure.
can
Uh,
create biases and opinions that, right. Plus the algorithm of how Instagram works, which is quite open, is that it shows you what you like, and the
hmm.
problem with that is if you keep liking politically biased news, even if you are not biased, if you're trying not to be biased, but if you keep liking one thing and not liking the other, the algorithm is more likely to show you that in the future, creating a long-term bias chain, which I think is very harmful because it creates a bubble of what's happening. And algorithmic or AI news is the worst thing that could happen to us.
100%, but like almost the similar sentiment that I share, right? So what I think is, let's say in 15 seconds, no one can learn anything. Like reels is probably 15 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever. And even via carousels, right? If you are trying to share news, like proper
Right.
news, like serious news, it's impossible to do it in the right way, because I mean, see, if you want to
Right.
just let people know ki, ha, this is what is happening, then that's fine. But most of the times, what is booming on Instagram is opinion-based journalism, which I feel is a separate issue altogether. When that happens and when there are carousels
Right.
involved and like good graphics and whatnot, so it creates some sort of a trustworthy atmosphere. Ki, yeah, I mean, this guy might be trustworthy because he has put in so much effort making the carousel, making the reel and whatnot. But after a point, no one knows that if the person is right, because even in the comments, nobody's going to go and read the comments to check for the counterpoint, right? After a point, they'll check the
Right.
views and likes at most, and then if it goes viral, then it's almost like a
Yeah.
open-ended truth that this might be completely correct because so many people are liking it. So I think that's a main issue I
Yeah.
have with like people
Exactly.
jumping on social media and trying to share news. Whereas what I like about news is news just sort of gives you the headline, and it's almost like eye catching, right? So if you see a meme on news, you get to know, okay, yeah, this is happening. I have to read more about this on somewhere else. So it gives you
Right.
like some sort of a headline type situation, but more catchy. So is that what you think too? Like, what does news do in your understanding? Like, what do you think news helps in?
Right. So a lot of people get confused here. What they think is that when we say news by memes, they think that we'll give all the news or all the information through memes, and then they say that reading is important and blah blah blah. But what we're trying to do is that meme is the clickbait.
Sure.
Meme makes you interested in that news or in that headline or in that topic, and then we have a summary and a full link, a full article that goes with it. So the meme is just used to get you to start reading and get you interested in that topic or in that news. Once you're interested, then you'll go on and read more about it and hopefully research on your own to understand what exactly is happening and then create your own opinions instead of someone just providing you the opinions.
100% right. So, what is about memes that makes it so appealing? Like, at least for the teenagers, for the Gen Z, what is it about memes that it's so popular at the moment?
Right. So even I haven't thought about this, that what makes it appealing, because I just remember when we started. When you started social media, you might remember those I think 2010 memes where just a weird
Doge
photo
meme?
was there of a baby
Acha, acha. Okay.
and a baby celebrating on a random text.
Ha, ha,
From
ha.
then to just going on to movies, dialogues, and series. So memes have grown a lot, and the one thing that it brings is familiarity first of all, because it's the biggest. So most people think that memes are supposed to be funny, but the thing I think is that most memes are actually relatable, and that's what
Sure.
makes them good, right? Because relatable memes are viral memes that you share with your friends. Memes make something relatable, and that sense of relatability is what we try to bring to news. Because if you read a headline, so most headlines, like if you think about international affairs, like tensions between Russia and Ukraine, now a 16-year-old sitting in India has nothing to relate with it,
100%.
right? And most probably they don't care about it. This doesn't affect them, and it won't probably, if everything goes well, it won't affect them ever.
Sure.
And most people don't realize that why should I even know this? Like, how does it benefit me? But what a meme does is it makes that thing relatable to them. A good memer is someone who can relate anything to you, and that's what the aim of a meme on news is. That then meme makes you realize or relate to that topic, and probably make you laugh. And once it has done that, you are more intrigued and you're more curious, and then you go on to read the summary and the whole article and understand what the situation actually is.
100% right. So what I think about memes is like almost like if you look at any meme at any given moment, and let's say we are in the future and let's go in the past and we check the timeline of memes. If we take one meme, we can at in most of the times we can figure out what's the culture of the teenagers at the moment. If we check the most viral meme at the moment, we know what the teenagers are usually thinking. And I guess with that sentiment, most of the companies at the moment are trying to implement memes in their marketing strategy, in their advertising
Right.
strategy,
Yeah.
which I think most of those companies don't get it because memes is something. There's no set process, right? Because anything can be funny and it can be made relatable. There's no set process to make one thing related to another, right? Most of
Yeah.
the companies fail doing it. But what I see about news is like the feed of the app news. If you guys haven't tried out, you can check the link in the description and whatnot. I'll leave that down there. It's insane. Like the thing that users can come in, they can make memes about a specific news headline and people relate to it and go and check. Like, do you guys see how many people go and research about the stuff later on? Like, if there's a link attached in the caption, like, is there a
Yeah.
statistic for that?
Yeah, we do measure it, uh, but we do not have a statistic right now that I can share.
Interesting. So how do you make sure like the memes on the news app are like, let's say, are like good enough? How do you like moderate the feed of news? What's the process?
Right. So we do have a moderation process in place. So what happens is, as you mentioned, anyone can upload a meme on news,
Mm-hmm.
and so there are already headlines given on news which are verified and aggregated by us. So
Acha.
again, there's no user opinion or bias. So we do not let users create or add their own news. But
Mm-hmm.
once the news is on the platform, then we let them make memes on them. And once they upload a meme, it comes to us and we have a fixed set of moderators
Acha.
who go through the meme and remove anything, first of all, that is obscene, hate speech, discrimination, or anything like that.
Huh.
And they also check for basic quality, that it's at least a little funny or passable, is what we call them,
Yeah.
right? So it shouldn't be totally normie.
Mm-hmm.
But
Sure.
yeah, so we have a basic check for that. And once they pass it, then they go to the feed. And one news can have multiple memes, right? So a lot of people can make memes on one. So then the algorithm decides on its own based on how people react to the meme, okay, which one to show on the feed.
So it's interesting how you brought up the word normie, right? So yeah. So do you like personally? Do you enjoy dark memes?
Yeah, personally I do, but again, we haven't done that on news for obvious reasons.
Sure, sure. Not everyone
But
does
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah,
Dude, you can get cancelled if you do it like this. If you want to even run an
yeah.
experiment, just yeah.
I was scared to say yes right now on the podcast.
You're scared to say yes. No, don't worry, man. Nothing will happen. All right. So another question which came into my mind was like, what makes news so easy to manipulate? Like, it's super easy to do it. Like, what do you think is the reason for that?
I think, again, a big opinion from my side, but
Sure.
what I think is people already have their opinions and they do not change it based on the news they read. So if you like a politician or like a party, you already like it. No amount of news is going to change that for you. It rarely happens.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens with that is, once you know, so most in an ideal situation, what would happen is you read the news, then you decide which party or which politician or which celebrity to support, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is you already decide who you like. Then
Sure.
you go on to read the news, and then you only read the news that supports your claim.
100%. 100%. Right. And I
So
almost
that
like agree
creates
with that
a
sentiment. Yeah.
yeah, so that creates a bias. Like then they show that proof that, see, this news, it confirms what I say, and it's just a fight to prove that you're right, uh, uh, instead of actually trying to find out who's the better person to vote or support.
100%, right? So something which I figured out like quite recently is views and opinions, at least for teenagers, they have to change every 3 months or 4 months, or else like
Right,
we are not reading enough, we are not debating enough in that sense.
right.
Does it happen to you too? Like your views and opinions about like anything, right? Not just politics, anything keep changing with time. Like let's say in 4, 5, 6 months, they keep changing.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, well, mostly due to the things I read online,
Mm-hmm.
stuff keeps changing. Like, first of all, I didn't understand NFTs at all and what the use case would it be.
Mm-hmm.
Then I understood it, and then I thought that could be digital art, and maybe in the metaverse it could be used as having proprietary, stuff. Then I again think now that it's a bubble because everyone's buying them at ridiculous prices, and I don't understand why would anyone pay it for so much. So yeah, I keep going on and off about latest. It has been crypto and
Oh,
NFTs, which I never understood, and I keep changing my views on it. But
say,
yeah,
what's your current understanding about NFTs for that matter?
again, I'm gonna just clarify. I'm no expert. I haven't read
Sure.
enough, but I think that it could be a great tool to buy digital products in the future if we actually go into a VR world or a metaverse, as they call it.
Hmm.
Then it could be a real game changer. If that doesn't happen, or if the technology that makes it happen isn't NFT, then it's gonna die soon probably. Because just having digital art that you own,
Hmm.
for personally for me, I don't understand it. I might have become a boomer early on.
Boomer
Uh,
early. Talking to 2 million investors, I see.
yeah, I mean, I think the life cycle of becoming a boomer is also shortening with the rapid advancements happening. So in
100%.
5 years we'll already be boomers because 15-year-olds will be doing something with crypto that we don't even know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure, dude. Like what I understand about NFTs, it's not like digital art, right? So what I see NFTs as, it's like an ID card, right? Just imagine like you're going to college and it's your ID card. That's it. Like if you have the ID card, you can enter the college. If you don't, the guard just asks you to go away, right? It's exactly like that.
right.
Whereas the ID card, if you wanted to fake an ID card, you can easily, it's easy to fake an ID card, right? If it's online, a printed ID card, you can just put it in Photoshop, change a few details, and bring it back. Just like how people usually edit their COVID, whatever RT-PCR reports at the moment. Whereas
Right.
if it is uploaded on a blockchain, right? You can't do it because it's already on the ledger. There's no way you can try to edit it. Because with that, what we give is we give an absolute ownership to one person, and that ID card can be anything. The ID card can be a piece of digital art. It can also be a piece of land with the papers attached to it or whatever. That's not happened yet, but I'm sure that won't be that big of an issue. I'm sure it can be anything. An NFT can be in digital art, be piece of land, literally anything, whichever can be uploaded on the blockchain. I think that's what my understanding of NFTs are, and I want you to comment on this. What do you think about this?
Right. I think so. I hadn't thought of that. It could be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Probably like an authentication online, maybe. Uh, Maybe I haven't explored that side. But currently, the main side that I've explored was the digital art, which I still don't understand. Why would someone buy digital art for so, unless it has been attached to a ticket or something, like some people
Exactly,
have started
exactly.
giving, right? Yeah, that I understand that you would pay for it. But other than that, yeah, I really don't understand it yet.
Do you know about the
Maybe,
BAYC?
no, not
Are the
so.
Board Ape Yacht Club? The ape NFTs people are putting on their Twitter
Acha, acha,
display
ha,
picture.
ha, ha.
So
Ha,
क्या है ना? Basically, it's like a club in which many celebrities have came in, bought the NFT, and if you have that NFT, after a point, what their journey is, they want to create a actual, let's say, you know how clubhouses work, right? Like there are multiple things you can do inside a clubhouse. Let's say a swimming pool,
right,
a poker table, and whatnot, right? They want to do something like that on a proper 7-star property. I'm assuming, and where you can meet people, like meet celebrities, meet big people who have the BAYC, the Board Ape Yacht Club NFT. So it's almost like an ID card there. It's like an entrance ticket कि हाँ मैं इस club में हूँ मेरे को entry दो, something like that. So that's my general understanding why people are buying NFT. So if let's say Elon Musk has an NFT, dude, obviously the price of that NFT chain will increase, right? Because Elon Musk has it, like
right,
everybody wants it now. Everybody wants to be cool. If Snoop Dogg has it, everybody wants it. Whereas if I start a NFT, whatever, NFT club at the moment, it would be difficult for me to ask for like $100,000, right? it's
right,
it's almost weird. And also, right, after a point, like selling and buying NFTs become, it's kind of not that good of an idea, because the gas fees for Ethereum has been for gas fees is being very bad. Like the gas fees for Ethereum is insane, and that's also a reason why people are not buying and selling that often at the moment. Like I'm sure it's not an investment uh, instrument at the moment. People won't buy NFTs as an instrument, like at least for now, because selling and buying with the insane amount of gas fees, it makes zero sense. So that's what my
right.
understanding about NFTs are. So yeah, like moving on from the NFT subject, what do you think is like seriously wrong with the news industry?
Seriously wrong is that so in an ideal world, news organizations won't be for-profit organizations because
Hmm.
as soon as you become for-profit, your metrics go from being giving information to how to increase ad revenue. And the problem with that is, for TV channels, let's say, ad revenue directly, depends on TRP, and TRP directly reports on how many people are watching you, and how many people watch you is directly dependent on which side or which opinion you share.
Sure.
So the problem is that as long as we are, for-profit news organizations, a certain amount of bias is always going to be there because they want that TRP. And as I mentioned, people watch based on what they already like, not
Sure.
what they wanted to know. Which I think is also a sense of thing that I urge a lot of people my age to do is that even if you don't like them, try watching people who like, totally disagree with your opinion. So even if you don't
Hmm.
agree with them, you like at least broaden your ideas and opinions. and well,
100%.
that's how ideally the world should work, but obviously it doesn't, sadly.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So what happened? Let's say last year. Yeah, exactly last year. I got very deep with Peterson. Like, I used to watch Peterson almost all the time. There was no other, let's say, public intellectual I used to follow at the moment. Because Peterson is so good, man. Like, he's so appealing, right? Like, the way he
Right,
articulates stuff, anyone can, fall for his ideology and whatnot, right? If you think about it.
right.
But after a point, when I then I figured out Zizek. Do you know what Zizek, who Zizek is? Zizek. So if you have you seen Peterson before?
Yeah, yeah.
So if you think about Peterson, Peterson is usually a conservative, right? If it in the basic
Right.
terms, whereas Zizek
Yeah,
is a communist philosopher, right?
that's
So मतलब दोनों तो मतलब पूरे अलग ही है मतलब separate ends of the separate spectrum. So when I thought about communism initially was what I thought was it's a completely bullshit ideology. Marxism is probably the worst thing that's ever been on the planet. But after I heard Jack speaking, I figured out it's not bad. I mean, there are valid points for both sides, which we all miss
right.
out on, and that's the same thing with news, right? I mean, basic news, traditional news, right? Most
Right.
news channels are usually they are forced to take one opinion in because their audience has been developed over time with one
Right.
side of the political spectrum, and if they let's say disagree, tomorrow वो लोग छोड़ जाएंगे उन लोग को. They'll just leave the channel, they go to another channel, and then the TRP will
Exactly.
fall. So what do you think can solve this, right? So what I think is a subscription based model can solve this. Like, just a thought in my mind. I think that could solve it. Like, what do you think can solve this?
Yeah, a subscription model could solve it. So there's a great publication called the Ken. So it just provides business and startup news,
Mm-hmm.
which is strictly subscription based, and they provide totally quality articles and stuff. But again, the problem with subscription based models in India will only cater to the top 1%, let's say, and most of the people in India are still not you know, I would say rich enough to afford subscription, right?
I mean, newspapers have been a subscription based model since eternity, right?
A newspaper is like 2 rupees, but if you want to run a digital product, I
Hmm.
don't think a 2 rupees might work. It might, maybe,
कितना
but
लगता है
yeah,
how
I
much
don't
money
think
does let's say organization need to put out a proper newsletter?
newsletter,
Something of that sort.
not much probably. But I think scaling would be a problem because I don't know, people free ka, I guess Indians prefer free ka. And
Yeah.
it could be it could be a model that tried. Uh, we wondered at news if we could do this, but the reason we didn't do is because our audience was young.
Hmm.
They don't even earn on their own,
Sure.
so they don't spend on their own, and I don't think they're gonna ask their parents to pay for a news app,
100% right. Uh,
right?
what I
So yeah, it could, well, a
uh,
future, I think it could happen. It will happen. As more and more things go digital. So the key to subscription business is going digital, I think. And
100%.
uh,
What's it
the
like?
problem
Let's
with
say for
digital
news.
again is
Haha.
that
Yeah. What?
problem with digital again, I think, is that as long as people get stuff for free
Mm-hmm.
in some other channel, they're going to be reluctant to pay for it. So if I'm getting so let's say a famous publication moves to subscription,
Hmm.
but there's another famous publication and they're giving it for free, more people will stay with the free one.
Sure.
Unless it proves to be good for business, I don't think all publications will shift. So I think it's been US में already हो रहा है. So
Huh.
the New York Times are already asked for subscription based payments, and it could happen in India again when there's I
What do you
can
think is the
when
problem
there
with the subscription based? Let's say everything goes subscription based model, right? What do you think are the problems that these guys will face if that happens? Other than
uh,
people not
pro-
having money to subscribe.
problems. So if ideally if news itself was a subscription based platform, I didn't think I would have any problem, except uh, probably the revenue would be have to be decreased because see newspapers earn a lot from ads, a
Hmm.
lot more from ads than they earn from the uh,
Sure. Sure.
rupees to subscription they take, right?
Ha ha ha.
and that is their major revenue. And the person who's getting more ads is the one who's getting more readers. So it again comes
100%.
down to the same thing. But for a company to survive just on subscription, they would have to charge a lot of money, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, because the operations would also be
Yeah, yeah.
quite large after a time. So news doesn't just doesn't write journalists doesn't write articles. We just aggregate them, right? For an
Sure,
actual
yeah.
journalism media company, they would have thousands of journalists under them, and paying all of them from just subscription would be a I think would be a major problem.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if you think about TV channels, the amount of money that you pay for a TV channel is very less compared to the amount of money they earn from the ads. So yeah, the subscription, just
Mm-hmm.
getting the economics right for a subscription-based revenue model would be hard.
100%. Dude, what's your monetization model for news?
Again, we're gonna be we haven't started yet, and we'll start monetizing once we have enough users. We'll be going through uh, testing ads.
Mm-hmm.
So our ads mostly will be targeted towards teenagers and teenage brands. So it will be mostly fashion brands like Netflix, Prime Video, Zomato, Babecook.com, and stuff like that. So these are the brands that we'll be targeting, and we think that it will make a great audience for them. Other than that, we also will try out. We don't know if it will work or not, but we'll try out News Pro or News Premium or something like that.
Huh.
That gives them exclusive features or exclusive articles and stuff like that. And we have a few different ways that we think, but we haven't tested out. But we'll be testing it out once we have a certain number of users. So right now we are focused on growth.
Dude, how difficult is it to put in a monetization model in place, let's say for a platform? Like, what all goes around?
So how difficult? I'm not sure. I'll let you know in a couple of years when I've faced it, because I think it's going to be hard,
Mm-hmm.
because a certain monetization model will work for us, but probably it won't work for our clients, because so we have two sets of consumers. One is the person who is reading the news, and then
Mm-hmm.
one is the companies who are actually interested in showing the news, showing the ads.
Huh.
So not only do we have to make sure that the consumer stay on the app long enough and interact with stuff to get show them ads, but we also have to convince the companies that this audience that we have is worth monetizing
Mm-hmm.
in a way that it's better than Facebook, Google, and stuff. This just ad giants basically. Because if you think about it, Facebook and Google already have all the audience, right?
Sure, sure.
If you so we Any other app that is trying to go and monetize through ads has to figure out a way that Facebook and Google won't be able to monetize, target them in a way that they won't be able to monetize, and basically we'll have to have a USP in the back end in the monetization plan as well.
Huh. Interesting, right? So I guess planning to go like community based after a point, so that you have a set knit, some sort of a niche group of people who already use the app and discuss, let's say, on a community like Discord or whatnot. Is that a plan happening in the future?
uh, we have not exactly a community like Discord,
Mm-hmm.
where you have many to many. What we're trying to do is we're trying to, if you even now on the app we have launched a feature recently to discuss news. So what
Huh.
we're trying to do is give a place for teenagers to share their opinions and share their views below the news, right? And so this just works for one news, so you
Mm-hmm.
can't extend it anywhere. So there's not a general chat. You just discuss one news, and another news you discuss something else. So we're trying to create it like that. And the community part, again, we are not betting on it right now directly, like the Discord model or something like that.
Yeah.
But we'll probably take in the discuss route and see if it works out. If it works out, we'll probably explore how else we can give a chance for users to interact with each other.
Interesting. All right, let's talk about the fundraising, that the funds that you raised like quite recently. Talk me through that process. Like, how was that like? So I already know because we talked about this before, like on the call, but I want you to repeat it again in a more elaborate fashion so that these guys should know too.
Right. So So the fundraising, we started in June 2020, and we won a few grants in middle. It was not much. It was just around 25,000, which was the main reason that we started. It gave us the head start that we needed to get started
Huh.
and move from an idea to a product and get some users. Then since this year, I asked my dad for some money, and it has been practically bootstrapped since then. And in September of 2020, I decided that we should be actively fundraising, and that's when I started actively pursuing investors and just cold emailing, approaching on LinkedIn and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a meetings with couple of investors. Uh, we applied to some grants. We applied to some scholarship programs and stuff like that. So that was happening, and one of the investors that we were talking with was
Hmm.
Campus Fund. So we started the talk in September. Uh, so the investment process again is very, I would say it's stressful, but not
Mm-hmm.
exactly, because after every meeting, you're waiting for an email that says either they set up another meeting or they say no.
Yeah, yeah.
So after every meeting, you're just like, is this the last meeting? Is this the last
Oh my
meeting?
god. Yes.
But a new meeting keeps coming up
Huh.
until one day they finally said that yes, this is the last meeting. You'll be pitching one last time. And I was like, finally. But again, stressed because it was like एक meeting पे सब
Barabar.
डाल दिया.
Uh-huh.
So that call was scheduled for like 1 hour, and it ended in 40 minutes.
Interesting.
So the next 2 days, I was just thinking, well, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? And I was just stressing over the whole thing that well, call jaldi kyun khatam hua?
True.
And yeah, after 2 3 days, we got a yes. And well, during this 2 months, so we got a yes in like end of November.
Mm-hmm.
And during this entire period, 2 months, we got rejections from a lot of people. Obviously, some people didn't even respond. But the only thing that kept me going was this cliche or quote that they say while you are trying to raise funds, is that you only need one yes.
Sure, sure.
So it doesn't matter how many no's you're getting. At the end, you just need one yes, and that's what happened. We got a one yes, and I was finally like, "Haish ho gaya." And after that, the meetings
Mm-hmm.
I've been to, I've been so bored because 2 months I was doing this, and I just wanted the funds. Once you get the funds, you're like, now I don't like doing this.
We don't
But
like
yeah,
doing this. Oh my
yeah,
god. Like,
because
what's your process like after you got the funds? Like, what are you guys doing? Like, are you still running it like a bootstrapped organization, or are you like actively burning funds and running experiments so that you figure out a way to do it? Scale.
yeah. So, matlab, again, one sad part about raising funds is that it requires a hell lot of legal work. So that's going on. So we don't even have the cash right now. It's
Oh my
still
god.
processing and stuff
Huh.
is happening. It's been going on for 2 3 weeks, but we are at the end of. We are almost done, and we'll have the funds in the bank in like 3 4 days.
That's nice.
So what we have planned is that January 1st we start fresh. We'll forget that we were ever a thing, and we'll start fresh and see that well, what has happened is that once you're doing things, you pile on a lot of
Hmm.
problems, and some of these problems require money to solve. And so January 1 is going to be a redemption day where we start and forget every problem that we had and start new and see how we can start these problems, solve these problems with a fresh mind. And yeah, we're also planning to grow our team.
How
So
many
we
are,
have
how
set
many
it
are you guys like at the moment? How many people are working at News at the moment?
right now. We just 6 people, including me.
Hmm.
So it's a quite small operation. Most of these people are in content. There's no one in tech except me, so everything in tech I handle right now. But yeah, we are going to hire some more people in tech especially,
Sure.
and in marketing and stuff like that, so we can grow faster. And we also trying to produce content faster. And yeah, so we have an internal target that we want to achieve with this fund,
Hmm.
and we'll hit that. And once we hit that, I'll be again going on calls for probably 2-3 months. So yeah,
Sure.
that's the plan.
Interesting. So you see, bro, like, what is the right way to pitch an investor? I'm sure there's no right way to pitch an investor, but what are the mistakes you made that you wouldn't like others to be making while pitching an investor?
Mistakes, probably going unprepared. So even if you have a pitch deck, I I add speaker notes on the bottom, so I absolutely know what I'm gonna say. I'm not trying to trying to speak uh, on the fly. I I um, I already had a few of the questions that a lot of investors ask, so prepared. So that is one thing which I didn't do at the start. So
Mm-hmm.
at the end, I had a Notion page which had just questions and answers
Mm-hmm.
of the potential questions they could ask. And the one thing that didn't do at the start was write the feedback they give, right? So whenever you get a no, most probably if you're on a meeting, they'll give you some sort of feedback.
Acha.
So I absolutely write it down and some of the questions they asked, so I can be better prepared for the next meeting or with the next investor.
Interesting.
Uh, Also, keeping the cold emails shorter. So when I first started cold emailing, I was focusing more on the fundraising part and stuff. But then I just made it short and just wrote that we are doing this, and I would just like to talk to you. So they probably know that, I mean, they're investors, so they know that you want to raise funds.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I think to mostly focus on the cold emails is to make them excited about the idea.
Sure.
And yeah, that's probably it. uh, and keep refining the pitch deck. So I'll almost change the pitch deck after every meeting,
Yeah.
because after every meeting, okay, this didn't work, yeah, this worked, so I need to focus more. So I till now I had like 30-40 versions of the pitch. So yeah, keep changing the pitch deck. You don't have to just stick to one pitch deck.
Dude, yes, I think that this is like pan VC pitching, right? Because I've been working with a couple of companies like way back in the day while making their pitch decks, and I actively sat in the meetings on the call and used to write down notes like what worked and what not, and we had to change the pitch deck every day. Like as soon as the
Right.
meeting
Yeah.
ended, there's that one mistake which we missed. We missed at one point one statistic, and we had to do it all over again. So yeah, other
Right.
than that, like
Exactly.
it's interesting that you brought in Notion, right? So I use Notion at Gas Markets, like with all the projects and whatnot. Like, what's your ideal way to manage your team? Like, is it Notion? Do you guys use Notion, or like what do you use?
So our team stack is we collaborate on Discord.
Acha,
So we were on Slack before, but now we're on Discord because it gives us free calls and stuff.
sure,
Plus, it's a lot more cooler with stickers and stuff.
100%.
Uh, and for the so Notion is not currently used by everyone on the team. Only me and Vibhu use it. So Vibhu is the head of content and news, and so we
Okay.
both use it. And as I mentioned, the 6 people, most of them are content. So uh,
Hmm.
out of those, 3 people are just doing journalism, right? So they aggregate articles, they write the articles, etc. So they don't really need Notion.
Notion, sure. I mean,
So
they could use Notion. I guess Notion will be helpful for that too, right? Like, it's almost like a database that you can have and anyone can access and whatnot.
yeah, so they well, not as extensively as we use it. They use it for managing the content calendar that we have. So the
Acha.
plan for what the next month we are going to publish and stuff like that, but not as extensively. Uh, we, well, we are we are trying to make it more widely across the team, so that we share common documents and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And even well, now that it's funded, we'll probably be making some kind of policy, because a lot of people will be entering
Sure.
news. And so we'll create a common policy and common templates that they can use when they're having meetings, because till now I was almost there in all the meetings, but from
Mm-hmm.
now on I probably won't be. So
100%.
I just a template that we use company wide, so that it's easier for everyone to follow what's going on.
Dude, and what I
Plus,
actually feel is like Discord is much more fun. Like, at least for team management, I guess that's more fun, dude. What do you think?
right, yeah, it also looks fun. The stickers and stuff. And the one thing that the only problem that I have with Discord is that DMs get mixed with friends and work. So you can't
Yeah.
really DM someone uh, and then just stay well, keep it at work. So that's one problem.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, yeah, it's far superior than Slack. Plus, it's free.
100%.
So yeah.
The only I think the one problem I faced with Discord was like you can't put in like heavy files on chat. You have to put it on
Yeah,
Drive first and फिर link share करना पड़ेगा. But I mean that's also not that bad, right? Because Discord is inherently बाकी सब तो अच्छा है Discord पे. Like I used Discord like earlier for we had this company called Insidious, like way not even way back, like a few months ago. We just started it with a couple of friends. It was some sort of a side gig. It was like
right.
it was like online events. We used to host online events. Used to get in brands. We tried getting in brands. Did work out. So yeah, that was that. And Discord is so easy because all other guys were like non-tech guys, and Discord is easier for those guys to use. Whereas if you try to teach them Notion has like commands and shit which they won't understand the get go like the first time. Whereas Discord is much more easier. All right.
I've heard that many people actually Discord has a learning curve too, right?
Sure.
मतलब
Sure.
पहले वो servers और सब समझ नहीं आता, and it was the case with me also when I actually first used Discord in ninth.
Acha.
At that moment, I didn't know the use case. I was just exploring the product, and it was just sitting dormant. Then I started using it for gaming with my friends,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I actually had to create a community for news, that's what I used. Then after the community, we decided कि जो पूरी team है उसे भी यहीं ले आते.
True.
So
True. 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 Yeah, dude, Discord is good. Like the biggest competition in Discord. I mean, I'm not sure if that's a competition too. It's Clubhouse at the moment, and I've used Clubhouse a lot. Like since the past few
Clubhouse,
months, I've used that a lot.
I haven't used Clubhouse for a while now, but वो
It's
तो
bad.
सिर्फ it's just rooms, right? You
Yeah.
can't I say you can't chat or you can't
No, you
you
can't
can't
do most of the things you
collaborate.
can do in Discord, but like it's almost like a competition now. मतलब community type situation तो बन जाते हो लेकिन on Clubhouse. But the problem with Clubhouse is I'm not sure why the communities on Clubhouse are just bad. Like they just I mean have you tried Clubhouse? The
Yeah,
Android version
मतलब
since the Android version has launched.
yeah, I've tried it.
You know what I'm talking about, right? What's happening on Clubhouse at
Uh,
the moment?
yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy Clubhouse, and I used Twitter Spaces for a while, but now I don't enjoy that as well. So in general, I totally hate audio stuff. I know that it's weird saying that on a podcast, but yeah,
Okay.
well, I actually don't like podcasts as well. I mostly don't listen to podcasts
Oh really? Why is that the case?
because I'm easily distracted. So if I'm listening to podcast, so my what the habit I have is while I'm listening to something like music or something, I just work, right?
Sure.
And that's how I listen to stuff. And with the podcast, what happens is if I listen to the podcast and then work on something, I completely forget what I was listening to, and then I have to go back, and well, it's very irritating. And I can't just sit there and listen to the podcast. So I never, I never see.
Uh-huh.
पता नहीं, I get bored.
Sure.
But
Dude, I used to go to
yeah,
sleep while listening to podcasts. Like, I used to switch on a podcast, like a comedy podcast, right? So, you might have heard of this one, The Internet Said So. Said So.
no idea. I
Right.
have heard no podcast.
Oh
Zero.
my god. So, these are like four comedians from India. They do a podcast. So, I went to sleep while listening to these podcasts. Like, every time I sleep, I have this ritual. I switch on that podcast for like 20 minutes or whatnot until I fall asleep. And the sleep timer goes off. And then, yeah, the podcast stops.
Gotcha.
So I mean,
Yeah,
like actively listening to podcasts is tough. I'm sure. Like listening to a podcast, a serious podcast, not a comedy, but a serious podcast for like an hour straight, it's tough, right? And while working and listening to podcasts, I'm sure that I've tried it. It's impossible because you have to focus on both the things at the same time, right? It's not like music where you know what rhythm is going to happen. You know, because music is predictable. Like after point, you know where the melody is going.
right.
Whereas podcast, it's not. It's not. I tried listening to the Peterson podcast while working. I couldn't focus
Yeah,
on
it
either,
is.
like not even work on podcast
Right.
because it requires like good attention, right? Other than that, I
Right.
feel podcasts as a content form is very overrated, right? As
Thanks.
much as
Thank
hype.
you.
Did you say thank you?
I mean, I mostly tell this to people and they don't agree. So I'm like, finally, someone.
As a podcaster, I'm saying podcasting is kind of overrated, right? Because after a point,
Right.
because making a podcast is easy. It requires nothing. It just requires you to have a mic and a quiet room. That's it. Like other than that, what do you need? Let's say if you're trying to pull in a guest, you can pull in a guest after a point. If you have X amount of people already and you're, you know, fairly into the podcasting scene, then after a point, it's very easy to do it. It's low effort. Right? It's an hour long, and most podcasts at the moment are just trash. If you go listen to all the new podcasts that are popping up, they're not that great because
Exactly.
it's so easy to make, and
Right.
so many mistakes are like sort of just pushed under the carpet because it's just audio, right? You just
Right.
can't be serious if the video is not on, right?
Right. Yeah. So I prefer actually if I have to listen to a podcast, I actually prefer the video version.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I'm actually watching the video, so I don't get distracted. I don't have the urge to work along.
Okay.
So, and even for video podcast, I just listen to podcasts that, well, mostly for podcast and not, as I don't have loyalty to any podcast. I just listen to it based on who the guest is.
Acha.
So any podcast of Kunal Shah, I'll just listen to it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Again, but only if it's in video.
Sure.
But if the same podcaster brings in some other guest, I'll totally be not interested. So I don't have loyalty uh, in terms of uh, the podcast.
podcast host के लिए. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, like, have you listened to Vinamr Kasana by any chance? I got him like just before this episode. Like, ये episode से पहले Vinamr का episode था, and you should actually try listening to those casts. Like, it's a podcast that he hosts, Vinamr hosts, and
अच्छा. नाम
that's
क्या है podcast का?
Dost cast, like, and
अच्छा.
it's insane. Like, I became loyal to the podcast host for the first time because that guy is such a personality, man. Like, and the way he articulates stuff, it's insane. Like, you should just try once, because he doesn't talk about any. I mean, it's not a serious podcast. It's almost like a friendly one. The other,
Right.
he has a serious one too, the Vinamra Kashana show. But I would recommend you to first watch those casts because you'll understand what I'm talking about. Like, how a person just gets loyal to the host because of the personality. And I'm trying to do that. After a point, I want the people to come in and listening to me and not just for the guest. Right? Obviously, the guest is
Right.
it's almost like a cherry on the tape, right? Cherry on the
Right.
cake, right? In that sense. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Have you tried like making podcasts earlier?
Actually, I have. I
Acha.
have made two podcasts. They are live on my YouTube channel, and I have to make them private, but I always forget to.
Send me the
And
link right now. Oh my god, what the hell?
they're probably the most embarrassing things I've ever made,
Why
and
would you
I'll
say that?
probably because you know, everyone has a unique sense of humor, right? And
Sure.
I that unique sense of humor that I have works with my friends and works offline, but I had
Acha.
the daring and the stupidity to put it online, uh,
Mm-hmm.
which is very cringe. And yeah,
When was
it's
this?
not even old. It's like 3-4 months ago.
Dude, this
I
is like
just
right now, dude. Like what, 3-4 months ago. It's not even old.
Yeah, it's just I didn't know. पता नहीं क्या हुआ था. I just thought कि this is a good idea, which was not.
I mean,
But yeah, again,
I've
it
done my
was
fair share of embarrassing stuff on the internet too, right? But yeah,
yeah.
you were saying something. Cut. क्या बोल रहा था? आगे?
Yeah, so this was again audio podcast. So
अच्छा.
it had video. I made a video because otherwise even I would not listen to it. So, but the video was not me. I just put in random animations and
अच्छा.
stuff again for a comedic element.
Okay.
But yeah, I like short podcasts. So I just made it like 3-5 minutes. So it was mini podcast at best, where I just talked about one thing, gave my full on opinions, and then left.
Oh, just like
And
Varun Dugirala, right? Like the way he puts it out on his Varun Dugirala show, not the one on IBM podcast, the other one, something like that.
yeah, but mine wasn't serious at all. So my first topic was why I hate podcasts, and the
On the
second
podcast.
topic was
Yeah.
the second podcast was actually called. The title of the video is "Dogs Don't Bite; They Give Love Bites." It was just I talked about why I like dogs.
Oh my god.
So,
Okay. Okay.
and yeah, so I'm gonna just make them private after I finish recording this. That's the first thing I'm gonna do.
Oh my god, dude, I've done my fair share of embarrassing stuff on the internet, right? So when I was like way younger, like what, 12, 13, I started a YouTube channel, and I used to
Same.
make Rubik's Cube videos. Do you know what Rubik's Cube? I'm sure you know what Rubik's Cube are.
Yeah,
So I was, very much into the cubing community and stuff. I got really, significantly faster. I was probably top 100 in India at the moment for like a couple of events.
okay.
But then I used to make like cringe ass videos on YouTube about it. But for sure, that taught me a lot. That taught me how to edit videos. That taught me how to be, less nervous on camera or less nervous on audio. Which is,
Right.
I mean, sure.
Yeah. Well, I think 12, 13 is the age where everyone makes YouTube videos
Hmm.
because I mean, pratha hai. Because
Pratha hai, हाँ.
when I was 12, 13 year old, I made videos about
Uh-huh.
Clash Royale. Do you know the game?
Oh yeah, yeah, I know, I know.
Yeah. So I was obsessed with it when I was in like 8, 9 something, and all my friends used to play it. So I thought, chalo YouTuber bante. Uh, Heavily inspired by PewDiePie, I started making videos.
Acha.
Biggest mistake of my life. Again, those videos are
Mm-hmm.
again. Look, they were so bad I didn't even make them private. I just deleted them.
Hmm.
And yeah, so
Dude, I'm
I
sure
think
that taught you a lot, right? Because obviously.
yeah. Well, by video editing, I never had uploaded a video on YouTube, so I never knew how it works or stuff like that. So yeah, it taught me that. But yeah, it teaches you basic SEO as well. If you're trying to actually
Sure,
grow your channel,
sure, sure.
so that's a added benefit.
That's true, dude. Like I edited ads like a year back. I used to edit ads for like various startups, and I'm sure if I didn't put out videos a couple of years ago, I wouldn't know video editing, right? Because obviously after a point it just connects, right? Most of the skills are like you learn a skill a lot of years ago, and then after a point you're just like, oh, I need this skill now, and I know it. That's just a good thing to know. All right, so it's been a
Right.
long time talking to you, Puru. So let's sort of conclude. So conclusion ये है कि what would you advise? What's your advice to a teenage builder, someone who is building a startup at a teenage builder?
Uh, the biggest mistake that I see people doing is that they take a lot of time to launch. Don't do that. Just launch as fast as you can. Doesn't matter if it's crappy, it will be. Even if you launch it after like 3, 4 months, and just launch it as fast as you can. Get feedback, and yeah, keep working on it. And don't work on something that you don't like. So as important as product market fit is, something that I think is even more important is the product founder fit. So work
Acha,
on something you enjoy, so that you'll keep doing it even when things get rough, right?
sure. All right. So yeah, thank you so much, Puru, for coming here. It's been great talking to you. I hope it's likewise.
Thanks a lot.
And I'm sure
Yeah,
we'll
it's good.
do the podcast, once again, probably in a couple of months, something like a part two. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
for sure, guys. If you like this podcast, do the formalities, and Nietzsche, there's the link for the news app. Make sure to check it out. All right. Until then, bye bye.